Behold my stuff. Hey folks, Dave here. You may have noticed recently that this channel has been a little lax in content, and the reason for that is I've been spending the past 2.5 weeks or so down in Florida over the Christmas break. Normally Christmas we either spend it at home or we head up to Canada where my homeland is. I'm originally Canadian. I've been living in North Carolina for the past 13 years, but due to COVID and the fact that my parents-in-law have a summer home, I guess a winter home down in Florida, we decided to spend Christmas there to avoid all the border issues and all the weird stuff that goes on with international pandemics. Pandemics suck. Don't have them anymore. But anyways, that's where I've been, and I've been quiet because it's hard to edit video on the go. I haven't figured out how to do that yet. So this is just a bit of a video just to kind of explain some of the things that I've been doing. I actually have several videos that are planned to come out over the next couple weeks about my trip. I did a lot of new things, did a lot of things that I've done before in different ways, met some people, and got some inspiration. And this is about one of those inspiration things. As you are aware, if you've watched this channel before, my main artistic output is photography, and specifically toy photography, and lately I've been getting into doing things like diorama making and all that sort of thing. I find that it is important to keep my creative juices flowing, otherwise they get stagnant, which leads to all sorts of problems. One of the things I found to keep those creative juices flowing is to fill my world with things that I can work with. Nothing is worse than getting a hit of inspiration, a burst of energy, and saying, I want to go create something awesome, and going down to your studio and realizing I have nothing to create something awesome with, and that can just reduces the incentive, and keeping that incentive going is very important in at least my creative life. So I just want to go over some of the things that I've picked up during my trip. I'm going to have another video about the experiences I've had, another video about one specific experience that was incredibly awesome. But this is just some stuff I picked up that's going to feed my creative life over the next 12 months or so. And the first set of things that I'm going to talk about are things that I picked up at a flea market, specifically the Webster Flea Market. And I picked up a few gems along the way. And the first one is this Mars Rover Hot Wheels toy. And I normally don't shoot Hot Wheels, just because it's just not my thing. However, Mars Rover, I'm all about space. And this, I didn't even know this existed, but this Mars Rover thing will come in handy. I can definitely see making myself a Martian diorama to shoot this fellow in. Amusingly, the person I got this from had two versions of this, and he was going over which packaging was better, not realizing that once the creative process flows, this thing's going to spend about 2 seconds in packaging, and then it's going to be ripped out of here and actually made to make art. But Mars Rover, definitely something that's going to be fed into my creative process. Another thing is simply a tool. This small little bench vise, I make little things and I always need an extra pair of hands, and this bench vise is going to serve my creative needs, especially my diorama making. So this is going to be spending some time in my workshop for sure. Next thing I picked up was this model of a VW Bug. This one is Coke themed, and I don't really give two craps about Coke. I know a lot of people collect them. Coke's highly collectible stuff. It's not my thing. What I bought it for was more for the Volkswagen aspects of it. I may build it as a Coke car. I may just build it as just a regular Volkswagen Beetle. One thing I can see actually is a lot of Coke products, they're rusted out because they come from the 30s, the 40s, the 50s, and they've been sitting in people's backyards and barns and stuff like that. So I can actually see building this thing, but instead of making it pristine, making it look like it has been a barn find. At least it'll be fun to make, if not feed into a actual photo. All right, this next item is Flash the Sloth from Zootopia. He has solid figure, he has no articulation, and normally I dislike that sort of thing. I like articulation in the figure so I can get reuse, but he costs 50 cents and he has a lot of detail, so I can see him being useful. This will be sitting on my shelf for a while, and someday inspiration will strike, and that's when I'll know I'll need this. So the next thing I picked up at the flea market was this model of the Challenger space shuttle. Fairly simple model. It says it's for the Challenger, but it actually contains decals for each of the names of each of the 4 space shuttles. So I can make this whatever I want. I have a feeling it's not going to look that great as a pristine model. However, my style is to dirty things up. And I suspect when I put this thing together, I'm going to paint it up rough, more like Star Wars, that dystopian look, than it is going to be like a Star Trek utopian look. And I suspect if I film this thing, it's not going to be anywhere near Earth. That's the way my mind works. I see this thing landing or even crash landed on an alien planet. So we'll see if that works. But this is one of the cooler finds that I found at the flea market. And the last thing at the flea market was this Dukes of Hazzard General Lee car. I was debating whether to buy this or not, simply because the General Lee is associated with the rebel flag on the roof, and well, I'm not a racist, and if you are, go fuck yourself. However, I have some ideas to make this into an art piece that promotes inclusion instead of promoting nastiness. So I'm going to put this together. At worst, it'll be fun to make, and I'll throw it out and use it as a practice piece. But this is the last piece from Webster that I bought. So I'll move on to some other things that I purchased at other locations. The next location I bought stuff at was Disney Springs, which is basically Disney World's shopping mall. It's a public place you can go to that they just have a lot of Disney stores and various other stores. It's basically if you want kind of experience Disney but without paying the outrageous park prices, that's where you go. And we spent a couple days there, me and my wife. And I went to the Star Wars store, and I picked out 2 things that I didn't know existed, but I think will be very useful. The first is a Wrecker from the Bad Batch, which is a Star Wars animated series on Disney Plus. One of the things that is starting to inspire me is automation and automatons and robots and that type of thing. He's obviously a human in a suit, an armored suit, but he looks like rough and tough. So I think he has potential to becoming a photo or 3. The other one is Greedo. He's the guy who Han shot first in A New Hope. I don't really have a plan for him other than it's super nostalgic. This just feels like this should be in my Star Wars collection, so I picked it up. So during my travels, I discovered through Scott Kelby, actually, that there is one of the largest Gundam stores around in Tampa Bay. And I was literally a mile away when he said that, so I stopped by this Gundam store. You probably know previously from previous videos that I don't know anything about Gundam, really. I just like the look of the figures. I actually built a perfect grade Gundam in one of my videos, which I'll link somewhere, either up there or down in the description. You can check that out. But I wanted to build more, especially I want to get into painting them. And painting that perfect grade is a little intimidating because it's a really expensive model and I don't want to screw it up. But going to a Gundam store allows me to paint cheaper things that will give me the experience of painting them without the risk of blowing several $100s worth of model. So I picked up a couple. This is one of them, which is just a robot dude, but this was like 40 bucks. So it's going to stand about, I don't know, 6 inches high maybe. Lots of details there, but he'll be fun to paint up. And I could see him being used in some sort of space scene. In fact, this combined with the space shuttle on an alien planet has some possibilities. Another one is this Maganak figure, which is almost like a walking tank. Again, it looks like it's fun to paint. That's really what I'm looking for, is paint practice. So this has a lot of potential for that. And the final piece, the final piece here, which is a model of Megatron, which if you're going, who the heck's Megatron? First of all, shame on you. Did you not grow up in the 80s? Really, he is the bad guy for the Transformers. I have several Optimus Prime action figures, but I don't have the bad guys. And Megatron here is the captain of the bad guys. He's also all metallic, and I've never really painted an all metallic figure before. At worst, he's going to be an interesting thing to play with paintbrush and an airbrush. At best, he might actually end up being in several shots. So that's everything I purchased on my trip. As you can see, it's a lot of stuff, a lot of models, so it's going to keep me busy creating things, which is going to be great, and hopefully some of this will lead to photos. If you see any of these items that you think may make an excellent shot, please dump it in the comments below. I read all my comments and respond to them, so I'd love to hear what you guys think of all this stuff. And if you like my stuff and you want to hear more about what's going on and see what I do with this stuff and hear more about my trip, including well, let's just say space features heavily in the upcoming videos. So if you want to hear about all that, hit the subscribe button. If you don't want to hear all of that, hit the subscribe button, and I will see you next time. Cheers.